Okay, guys, real quick. Before the video begins, I wanted to give you a little set in the scenario sort of thing. So I had a right front airbag go bad, 183,000 miles. I don't blame it. Okay, these things happen. So I didn't want to wait for new replacement units from Island 4x4 because that takes a while. So I bought some refurbished units through a local vendor. It's called Racing Parts Warehouse. I found them on eBay. And I know, refurbished units. So here's the quick down and dirty on that. Racing Parts Warehouse sold me these two units that were affordable. You know, I'll give them that. But they don't hold air. And if they do hold air, and that's a huge if, they don't refurbish the strut bearing, only the strut itself, which is all the O-rings and the, all that. So basically you're getting a refurbished strut with a existing shock, because remember, they don't redo the actual shock strut itself, just the airbag portion, and then the strut bearing itself. So you get that nice thunk when you hit bumps going down the road. It drove me bonkers. So emails back and forth, they refuse to acknowledge that's even a thing, and I kept trying to show them videos and proof and photos and the whole deal, and they just blew me off. So I ended up buying a set, OEM set from Island 4x4. Island 4x4 was more than happy to take my money and send them to me. And it took 4 days to get through customs, which is kind of a nightmare scenario. So they finally showed up, and I put the left one in, went fine. Put the right one in, and the right one won't hold air. It has a defect, and I cover it later in the video. It's kind of a bummer. Island 4x4 refused to honor it, answer my emails, or anything, so I'm pretty disappointed with Island 4x4. So the big takeaway here is do not buy refurbished struts. And Island 4x4 is batting 500 with me. So, buyer beware. Other than that, everything went swimmingly. In the video, you will see 2 different types of connections. There's a plastic clip that comes in the strut. I show you on the R-Knot replacement one. You pull out the plastic clip for the air fitting, you jam the air tube in it. That's it. Don't mess with it. On the left side, I did have an issue where I had to take the fitting out and then screw it back in, okay, and retorque the fitting and all that. You'll see when you get there. So you're going to see both examples, okay? There's 2 ways to do it. The primary one, the preferred one, is pull the little plastic insert out, jam that tube in, and done, okay? So there you go. There's your preface. There is a bit of ranting in the video. Sorry, I was pretty disappointed. Island 4x4 in particular. But nonetheless, let's start the intro, and hope you enjoy. So today, I get the pleasure of putting on new struts. Direct from Island 4x4 in England. These are brand new, not refurbished, and they're about 200 pounds. So, left and right, shipped, was about $650. So let's get it going. So during disassembly, we're going to have these 2, which I use the 7/8 for. So that's what, 22, 23 millimeter. That one is 19 millimeter. Okay, so those 2. And the top of the strut, which is these guys, I think those are 16. So, and that's pretty straightforward. And that's pretty much it. Disconnect the wheel speed sensor, the brake line, and the, what is that, the wear pad sensor. And then you have your, well, I'm not going to be able to show you, 12 millimeter line feed, the airline feed, but you got to drop the strut to get to the top to get that disconnected. So I put jack stands in the rear so it doesn't go to full droop, and I have the ability to, not overwork the pump when I get this thing fired up. So get all this stuff taken apart. It takes about half an hour, honestly. It just blazes right through it, especially if you got, impact tools or air tools, things like that. And should be pretty straightforward. All right, one quick tip I have for you if you're going to do this yourself. When you disconnect these bolts, right, that hold the strut to the hub, get a floor jack underneath this thing like this. These work really well so you can support it, because remember, you got to disconnect it from the top. So that's going to make the whole thing slump down and probably fall on your face. So what you can do, loosen these up so they're ready to take out by hand. Take the top ones out there, right? And then use your floor jack to just lower it down gently in place. Then take that nut out And that should give you enough room to get to the airline at the top. Is that clear as mud? It actually is self-explanatory once you get it going, so I promise. All right, gang, and here it is. The new strut. Made in Mexico. So, it's got the, wasn't that the residence suppressor, whatever, the big black cap on these. Came with that, so that's good. The exact same mounting, new fittings, new everything. It even came with, let me see if I can get this one-handed, a new airline connection here. So you got the coupler on the bottom and then the actual bolt head at the top, or the nut head. So it'll compress that line once it goes inside this little devil right here. And then it's the same, you know, bolts on the top, reverse process. It's actually super, super simple. The whole thing, old one out, new one in, should be maybe an hour. The biggest problem you're going to have, and I'll give you a heads up now, is this right here, this little devil. Because I think that's a 5 or 6 millimeter. You are not going to get an Allen wrench in there to hold that steady. I mean, look at all the rust and everything. And I did blow the boot on that sucker, so I'm going to see if I can repair that. So I used needle nose channel locks in there to grab a hold of the back side of this thing and then spin it off with an impact real quick. Hand tools, it's going to be a lot more of a challenge, but anything's possible, right? So let me get this put back together and we'll see what final assembly looks like. And here's what the airline connection looks like. Let me get a light in there better. So that's how deep you want it. See the bulb just the other side of the brass fitting. You want that and the coupler up as tight against that as possible, so when you thread this in, it will seal. Okay, it seals against the O-ring inside. I know this doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but when you start taking it apart and putting it back together, you'll see. Okay, so the strut is sitting on the tie rod here. Then I'm going to lift it up onto here, put one bolt in it to hold it in place. Make sure this wheel speed sensor wire goes behind the strut, not in front of it. The new one does not have the plastic clip, so I'll have to use a zip tie again. And that's pretty much it. Pretty straightforward stuff. So you can see the strut was made in Great Britain, and then the airbag was made in Mexico. So, you know, whatever. It's a factory original Delphi part, so this ought to do. All right, so here is our finished product. I got those two tight. I got the little zip tie in there to hold that cable because the plastic clip is gone, and zip tie is about as best I can get. Those two fastened. That one fastened. The airline up top fastened. You can't really, there it is. Got that fastened. Everything else looks good. Okay, now for these, don't forget your little resonance dampener. That's, I think, what it's called. So this, to take it off, I didn't cover it, but I'll let you know now. You need to take the strut out and put a giant wrench on this. I put tape over the claws of a giant slip channel or slip plier wrench and popped it off because it was on there good. And if you look at it, it's got some kind of sealant or Loctite or something on there from the factory. So they did not want to budge. So now we can put that tight. Giant Allen wrench in there, tighten it up. I don't remember the size. Big Allen wrench, tighten that up, and then put the cap over it. Just like it rolled out of a Sully hole. All right, now I'm going to get going on the other side, because that's going to be identical. Just the passenger side or driver side if you're in England or right-hand drive country. And yeah, let me get it going. All right, gang, let me catch you up. Some strange things have been afoot. First, let me recap here real quick. When you get your new strut, whether it's mounted or like this, just the airbag, you're going to have a plastic clip in the actual air fitting. Okay, so when you do this, you just pop this out, stuff the airline in there to the bulbous part, or about that deep. Stuff it all the way in there, and that's it. Leave it, mount it. Good to go. Okay. Now, this has been 2 weeks in the making. Okay. The left side, driver's side for North America, went swimmingly well. It went perfect. Everything went super fine. This side, however, this is the right side, or passenger side for us in North America. Yeah, major problems. Now, these are from Island 4x4, and these are factory replacement struts with new strut and airbag. Okay. The problem I have is it leaks. So when I talk to Island 4x4 and told them about it. They said, no, you messed with the air fitting. And I said, no, your strut is leaking. And they refused to acknowledge it or reply to any of my emails. So they threw me under the bus pretty bad. They have no problem taking my money, but they do have a problem providing customer service to fulfill the needs of the customer. Okay, so I'm a little bummed about that. So Island 4x4, shame on you. If I was in the UK, I bet they wouldn't have done that. Okay, vent is over. All right, now, it leaked here. Let's see if I can get that in focus there. Okay, that is the feed to fill the airbag, okay? So this has the cap, this right here, okay, where the airline plugs in. If you take this off, this is what you see, and I pried this up a little bit to get the line out because I tried to figure out why it's leaking there. So this isn't a sealed hub. Instead, they put about 2 feet of tube that coils in here around like so, and it allows the wheel to turn. So when you turn the wheels, basically you're tightening it up a little bit or giving it slack, but it allows the pivot. Okay, so the problem I had was it was leaking there at that barb fitting, and I tried to fix it. I tried to take it to a local shop, things of this nature, and to no avail. So here I am with another air spring from Arnott. This is 2933 A2933 airbag. So now I get to change out the airbag. So how does that work? What you got to do, at least this is what I did, was get a big pair of like a big sliding channel or a pipe wrench or something like that to grab this collar. Now the Superchargers have this collar. I don't know if the HSEs and so on do. And then it's a 15/16 nut or 24 millimeter inside of here. Now this, here, I already took that off. So this center is 8 millimeter, but you got to bust that nut loose first because you're never going to get that to hold while you're trying to twist the nut off. So grab a hold of it with a pipe wrench or something heavy, and then just take a 15/16 or 24 millimeter and pop it loose. It's literally a quarter turn, and that's sufficient. Get the tension off it. And then you can use your 8 millimeter with the 15/16 outside and just turn it with a pair of pliers or whichever, and that'll come right off. And then all this other stuff comes right out. Okay? And then we're going to take this off and then have a look at the O-rings because they came with the new airbags. We're going to put new O-rings in it. All right, so this literally took 30 seconds. Use my rubber-ended plastic, also mallet combo, and hit the end off right here. Tap that puppy off, right? It came right out. This is the top. Remember the orientation, how these come off. This rib must go down when you reassemble. Okay, now I have a new one with the Arnott one, of course, but I'm just pointing this out while I'm thinking about it. Here's the orientation of the O-rings. Okay, I have new O-rings also, of course, so I'm going to replace them new, even though these have 0 miles on them. There may be a slight difference with the case on the Arnott one, I don't know, so I'll go with their O-rings. And then this, of course, goes in the bottom of the bump stop. Now, when you take this apart, yeah, see? You can't really see inside there, but that's the bump stop inside there. Let me see, wait for it. Yeah, you can kind of make it out right there. It's that tan colored thing down there. That's the bump stop and the washer that goes on top of it inside. You can hear it rattling around a little bit. So we're not going to worry about that. That was over. Now we're moving on to this one. And we're going to fit this one onto this new strut that I got from Island 4x4. Because remember, only this part is where they screwed me on. This will not hold air, so this is no good. The strut is still good. So we're going to put this airbag on. All right, so that's the O-rings. The only real difference I can see is that these have plastic or green plastic collars on here where the OEM ones had orange, so not a big deal. Okay, so the only part we're reusing from the old strut is this spacer that goes under the bump stop. All right, bump stop goes over top of that. And then this washer goes down. See the ridge on that? We don't want that cutting into the seal or anything, so that goes down like so. Okay, so the bump stop hits it and it doesn't tear into it. Okay, and that part is done. Now we take the airbag, the actual airbag itself, and look at the index pin, okay, because that has to go in this hole right here, and then we put the pin in to secure that in place. So this just easily slides right over top of that, but I am going to need 2 hands, so give me a sec. So when you slide the airbag down, make sure it seats completely against the bottom of this, okay? And then we take our little pin, or little holder, and slip it on that locator rod, pin, whichever you want to call it. I don't know the actual name. So we'll slide that all the way down. Trying to do this stuff one-handed, sorry guys. Alright, it's moving all over. I'm gonna have to use two hands on this one. So you get that puppy on there. Alright, and then we'll go back to standing it up. Okay. And then we're gonna take this. Remember the orientation here. Okay? That's gonna go on top of here. So if you look inside this shaft, it's rubber on the inside right here. I don't know if you can get a real good look at that, but that's got a rubber kind of cone, inverted cone in that. So when we put this one in, not this way, this way, put it on here, then we're going to take our resonance dampener housing, I guess that is, and then factory nut over top of that. We'll buzz that down as much as we can by hand, and then we'll get something to grab this collar. And again, take our 15/16 or 24 millimeter and torque it down as tight as we can. And that's it. Va bene così. And there we have it. Okay, then we put it back on the car and we do it the same as the other. So I'll catch you back up and give you a debrief here in just a bit. And there we have it, all installed and ready to go. Got the car warming up a little bit because it's a chilly 8 degrees Fahrenheit outside. And then we're going to take it out for a run. You can just see the airbag all fully inflated and everything right there. And yeah, so far so good. Okay, so hopefully that wasn't too painful. Yeah, sorry about the complaining. I mean, you know, you pay, you know, money for certain parts and services and they fail and it's upsetting, okay? So nonetheless, the car is sitting right. It's running great. I got it all squared away and taken care of. And next, I'll be replacing or rebuilding the compressor in the boot or in the trunk, cargo area, whatever. And I'll be making a video about that, and that ought to be interesting because I haven't found any information on rebuilding the compressor in these things. So it'll be a moment to shine, or it'll be epic failure. Either way, hey, you know, we'll see. So like, share, comment, subscribe, give me some ideas, heads up, feedback of any kind. I love it. I love hearing from you guys, and I wish you well. Happy Range Rovering.